Hello there and welcome to whatever day it is in our 21-day sounds meditation, and the title will give you what day it is. I'm way beyond counting at this point, so I want to draw your attention to one of the great taboos, particularly if you come from the countries that I live in, or generally speaking what people call the Western world. The Western world has got a lot of hang-ups around sound, particularly you making sound yourself, and I want to address that one. Let's really go into it. So if we're referring to the United Kingdom, which has had such a pernicious influence on so many parts of the world, what we experience, it goes back into our ancestry, and I'm referring to Oliver Cromwell and that particular time when we became immersed in something that's called Puritanism. And Puritanism was very much about denying life. It was a life-negating religious cult. That would be the best way I'd describe it. It was a cult. It had all the trappings of a cult. And so what they did is they created a whole load of activities which they decided they wanted to demonize, and they used the excuse of warping and twisting religion to do this. So they particularly had a downer on dancing and singing and any form of free creative expression. So what I want you to be aware of is, although you might not be consciously thinking about this, if you come from those countries which I'd say is basically infected with the Western disease, it is the fact that there is a big part of our ancestry which says, shut up, be quiet. And we've only got to go to childhood, to being in school and being told to be quiet on numerous occasions, and we can see how this feeds into this Puritan Protestant ethic which has caused so much damage. And one of the whole points about being alive and becoming more aware is to realize the way that we have been restricted. So singing and dancing are the two particular culprits that have been singled out, and there was a time that the only permitted form of singing was particularly dreary hymns in church, and they had to be sung in a way without emotion and without creative expression. So that is a big wounding that's actually occurred to many of us. And then there's something else which has happened, which is what I call the cult of the specialist, whereby what has happened, most particularly in the 20th century, that was really where this took off big time, is we had the idea that some people are good at things and the rest of us aren't. So classic case in point, people used to sit around listening to other people singing and making music, and the idea is they were musicians, they were good at it, they cut records, they made CDs, they were on iPods and all the rest of it, and that's what you needed to do. You needed to listen to them because they were where it's at, they were cool. But you, oh no, absolutely not, no, come on. Who are you to extend your voice out into the world? So there's a really big reason for all this, but let's just throw in the contemporary, which is something over the face to blot out the sound that you make, even when you're attempting to engage in your daily life. This is all part of a pattern which we can see has intensified over the centuries since the original puritanical cult, which was anti-life, started to gain its ascendancy. We're talking about hundreds of years ago. So this is a long-term ancestral thing. So every time you take your power and make sounds with your voice, I want you to be aware of the fact that you are mounting a fundamental challenge to your ancient ancestral programming. And the old programming was to shut up and to be still. So what we're doing is we're actually reclaiming our power. So every time you make sounds, you're reclaiming your power. And so one of the things that you will be doing is you'll be challenging the inertia of embarrassment. A lot of people feel embarrassed to make sounds in the presence of other people particularly. And I noticed that myself with this practice. I'm always looking for a location where I can make sounds where I'm not going to be overheard by other people, which shows how deep-rooted this programming actually is. So that's something to consider. So the fact that you are taking part in this program, the fact that you are listening to sounds being made and joining in, means that you are doing something really major to step into your power. And if you think about it, if you could imagine the concept maybe from a dystopian science fiction novel, that you had a really vicious tyranny, a tyrannical regime, well, the tyrannical regime would obviously want to keep the population silent, because that's going to keep them compliant. And they're going to want them to be making sounds. So it's a big thing that you're doing, challenging the status quo by making sounds. So I'm going to start off with one that we have done lots and lots of times, and I'm going to do the breathing as before. I'm going to remind us 2 fingers below the navel is the seat of the will, which we call the hara, 72,000 connections between us and all that is. Very powerful, all this. So we'll do the breathing as per usual, a forced exhalation through the pursed lips, and we'll do in through the nose, hold, out through the mouth, in through the nose, hold, out through the mouth, in through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. Then we'll do a big inhalation, and then we'll make the sound. So the one we're going to do today is Om Namu Guru Dev Namu. It's that one, that's the one we're going to be doing. So off we go. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. So now let's do the call and response. I'm going to make my sound. I'm going to take my time to do my in-breath. So let's do call and response again and make this continuous sound. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. just play around with what happens now. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. 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 Guru Dev Namo. Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Guru Dev Namo. Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. 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 As you make sounds, you are breaking ancient taboos. Much love to you. Thank you very much.